This story is about two people at different points in their lives that still find love despite an age difference. Before I get started, let me know where you're listening from in the comments. You can also view video clips associated with this story on my channel. Subscribing is the best way to stay updated with new content. Now here is Twice My Age. Autumn had worn the red dress because the man from the dating app said he loved red. She had arrived 15 minutes early, ordered sparkling water so she would not seem too eager, and rehearsed 3 different versions of "Nice to Finally Meet You" in the mirrored elevator doors. 42 minutes later, she was still sitting alone in the hotel lounge, watching her ice melt and pretending not to check her phone every 10 seconds. 2 stools away, Lamar had ordered bourbon neat because it looked dignified, although dignity was the last thing he felt. At 50, he had imagined his life would be quieter, sturdier, and less likely to involve his wife leaving him for a woman named Denise who made pottery and called everyone beloved. He had spent the evening staring into his glass, wondering how a man could be both heartbroken and embarrassed by the soundtrack in a hotel lobby. When Autumn's phone finally buzzed, it was not an apology, it was a message. "Can't make it. Rain check?" She looked up at the perfectly dry windows, laughed once, and muttered, "I hope his charger breaks." Lamar turned before he could stop himself. "That bad?" he asked. "Worse," Autumn said. "I got stood up by a man whose profile picture had a tiger in it. I ignored several red flags and still got punished." Lamar raised his glass. "To ignoring red flags?" Autumn clinked her water against his bourbon. "To surviving them." "So what's your excuse for being here alone?" Autumn asked, tilting her head toward his bourbon. "You look too put together to be hiding from a dating app." Lamar looked down at his drink. "My wife left me for someone who makes mugs by hand and says things like, 'The universe held space for us.' I'm still trying to figure out whether I'm grieving my marriage or the fact that I got out-poetried by pottery." Autumn pressed her lips together, trying to be respectful and failing. "I'm sorry, but out-poetried by pottery is devastating. Also, Denise sounds exhausting." "She is very centered," Lamar said. "Unfortunately, she centered herself directly out of my house." Autumn laughed, then grew softer. "For what it's worth, getting left doesn't make you unlovable. It just makes tonight inconvenient." Lamar studied her for a moment. "You always comfort strangers with insults and wisdom?" "Only the ones with good shoes," Autumn said, "and you look like you paid full price." They talked because neither of them wanted to go back to their rooms with only disappointment for company. She told him she worked in marketing and had a coworker who used the word synergy like seasoning. He told her he was a psychology professor and had recently learned that a midlife crisis did not always come with a sports car. Sometimes it came with divorce papers, office hours, and a hotel bar tab. Autumn laughed so hard she nearly snorted lemon through her straw. By midnight, the age difference was obvious, and somehow not the most important thing in the room. Lamar had 25 years on Autumn. He had gray in his beard and a carefulness in his voice. Autumn had bright eyes, quick jokes, and the fearless posture of someone who had not yet learned to apologize for wanting too much. They should have been a bad idea. They both knew it. That was why, when Lamar asked if he could take her to dinner, without the Tiger Man as competition, Autumn smiled and said, "One date, but if you say anything about how music used to be better, I'm leaving." Autumn's friends met Lamar 2 weeks later at brunch, which was the worst possible arena for a new relationship. Brunch was where opinions arrived dressed as concern, and mimosas made everyone believe they were licensed therapists. "So," said Nia, dragging the word across the table, "he's 50? "Yes," Autumn said. "Girl." Patrice leaned forward. "Is he rich rich or just wears blazers on Saturdays rich?" Autumn nearly choked on her French toast. "I like him. I'm not auditioning for a yacht." "I'm just asking," Patrice said, "because if a man twice my age wants to take me out, I need to know whether we're talking early bird special or generational wealth." Nia lowered her voice. "Are you sure this isn't about your dad?" The table went quiet. Autumn's father, Cecil, had schizophrenia, and his illness had shaped their family in ways Autumn still struggled to name. Some days he was gentle, funny, and protective. Other days he mistook strangers for enemies and memories for current events. Autumn loved him, but loving him had never been simple. "Lamar is not a substitute father," Autumn said, sharper than she meant to. "He's a man who listens when I talk and doesn't make me feel foolish for wanting stability." Her friend softened, but the questions did not disappear. They worried about power, money, control, and whether Autumn was giving away her 20s to someone already carrying the weight of a whole other life. Autumn heard them because some of their concerns were fair. Large age gaps could invite judgment, reveal differences in life stage, and expose insecurities neither partner expected. But she also knew Lamar was not trying to own her future. He was trying awkwardly and earnestly to be invited into it. The first time Autumn and Lamar got pulled over together, Lamar was driving 7 miles over the speed limit and singing along to Anita Baker with the sincerity of a man trying to heal 3 decades of emotional damage in one chorus. "You are speeding," Autumn said, glancing at the dashboard. "I am emoting," Lamar said. "There is a difference." The blue lights flashed behind them before Autumn could answer. Lamar pulled over with both hands on the wheel and the stiff posture of someone who had suddenly remembered every traffic law in America except the one he had just broken. "Relax," Autumn said. "I am relaxed," Lamar whispered. "This is my relaxed professor face." The officer approached the driver's side, looked at Lamar, then leaned slightly to see Autumn. His expression shifted in a way Autumn recognized before he said a word. The quick little calculation people made when they saw her youth beside Lamar's gray beard and decided the story for themselves. "License and registration," the officer said. Then to Autumn, "Ma'am, are you all right? Do you know this man?" Autumn blinked. "I know him better than I know my student loan balance, and that haunts me monthly." The officer did not laugh. "I'm asking because sometimes young women get into situations with older men and feel pressured." Lamar's jaw tightened. "Officer, she is my girlfriend." The officer's gaze moved from Lamar's silver watch to Autumn's red lipstick and heels. "Girlfriend," he repeated, with enough doubt to fog the window. Autumn sat up straighter. "If you're trying to ask whether I'm a prostitute, you can say the quiet part loud and then explain why my boyfriend's speeding ticket turned into your imagination having a press conference." Lamar coughed once, part horror and part pride. "Autumn, no," she said, keeping her eyes on the officer. "I'm tired of people looking at us and deciding the only possible explanations are money, trauma, or crime." The officer shifted his weight. "I didn't mean to offend you." "Then you accidentally succeeded," Autumn said. Lamar handed over his license and registration. "For what it's worth, officer, I teach psychology. Projection can be very revealing." Autumn turned to him. "Are you psychoanalyzing a traffic stop?" "I'm coping," Lamar said, "and possibly earning us a citation with footnotes." The officer disappeared to his cruiser. For several long minutes, Autumn stared through the windshield while Lamar drummed his fingers once, stopped himself, and sighed. "You okay?" Lamar asked. "I'm angry," Autumn said, "and embarrassed, and somehow craving fries." "That is a complex emotional profile," Lamar said. "Professor, if you diagnose me before I get curly fries, I will become a case study." The officer returned with a warning instead of a ticket, his voice flatter now. "Drive slower. And ma'am, I apologize if I made an assumption." Autumn accepted the apology with a nod that was polite but not decorative. "Thank you. Next time, maybe ask the speeding question before inventing a subplot." When they pulled back onto the road, Lamar kept the car exactly at the speed limit, not 1 mile over. "You're driving like the car has a parole officer," Autumn said. "After that conversation, this vehicle is on academic probation." Autumn laughed, but her hand found his on the console. "That's what I hate most. People can make us defend something that should just belong to us." Lamar squeezed her fingers. "Then we defend it when we must and live it when we can." "And get fries?" "And get fries," Lamar said, "at the legal speed limit." Their next public embarrassment happened outside Autumn's office, where Lamar waited in a navy coat with flowers and the old-school confidence of a man who believed carnations were underrated. Autumn's co-worker Damon came jogging down the steps, all cheekbones, fitted shirt, and 26-year-old certainty. "Hey, Autumn," Damon waved. "Your dad's here." The silence that followed had architectural integrity. Sir, wow, those are nice flowers," Damon said, backing away like a man escaping a bear. Autumn tried not to laugh because Lamar's face had gone from wounded to philosophical. "Your co-worker seems polite," he said. "He thought you were my father." "I heard him. If it helps, he's terrible at PowerPoint." "It does not." A week later, Damon made the mistake of stepping into the elevator just as Lamar was stepping out of it. Autumn was between them, carrying a tote bag, a laptop, and the full spiritual weight of knowing two men were about to perform politeness at each other. "Mr. Lamar," Damon said, then winced. "I mean Lamar, just Lamar, not Mr. Lamar, unless you prefer Professor." "Sir, I'm doing it again." Lamar looked him over with the calm of a man grading an essay that had started strong and lost focus. "Damon, is it?" "Yes, sir, Lamar, yes." Damon extended his hand too quickly. "I wanted to apologize for the father thing. That was wild. My mouth filed paperwork before my brain approved it." Autumn stared at the ceiling. "Damon, please stop helping." Lamar shook Damon's hand. "Apology accepted. For the record, I am not her father." "Absolutely," Damon said. "Clearly, I mean not clearly at first, but clearly now. You have, like, boyfriend energy." "Boyfriend energy," Lamar repeated. "Respectful boyfriend energy," Damon added. "Academic, stable, slightly intimidating, like if a cardigan could ask follow-up questions." For the first time, Lamar laughed. Autumn exhaled as if someone had opened a window. Damon glanced at Autumn, then back at Lamar. "Also, I want you to know I respect Autumn. She's brilliant, terrifying in meetings, and the only person who can make our director admit when a campaign idea is bad. I'm not trying to interfere with anything." Lamar's smile faded into something more honest. "I appreciate you saying that. I may have let my imagination turn you into a threat." Damon held up both hands. "Sir, the only threat I pose is to shared office snacks. Autumn once watched me eat 3 conference muffins and said she had lost professional respect for me." "I stand by that," Autumn said. The elevator doors opened. Damon stepped inside, then pointed at Lamar's flowers. "Carnations are underrated, by the way." Lamar nodded, impressed despite himself. Finally, a young man with sense. As the doors slid shut, Damon called, "Still not your dad, though." Lamar turned to Autumn. "I like him less than I did 10 seconds ago." "Progress," Autumn said, taking his arm. "You liked him at all." That night, Lamar made jokes about senior discounts, but Autumn noticed the way his eyes followed Damon when he appeared in her stories, the way his questions changed from casual to careful. "Is Damon going to the conference? Does Damon always text after work? Why does Damon use so many laughing emojis?" Autumn finally put down her fork one evening and said, "Lamar, Damon is handsome, yes. He is also emotionally committed to his sneaker collection. I am not leaving you for a man who says bet during staff meetings." Lamar sighed. "I know I'm being ridiculous." "A little. It's just hard not to feel like time is standing behind me with a clipboard." Autumn reached across the table. "Then stop competing with men I'm not dating. Be the man I chose." Lamar rubbed his thumb over her knuckles. "I don't want to make you feel watched. I teach people how insecurity ruins communication, and here I am acting like a cautionary lecture in loafers." "Then grade yourself honestly," Autumn said. "What would Professor Lamar tell a student who kept comparing himself to somebody else?" He smiled reluctantly. "That comparison is a distorted thought, likely rooted in fear of abandonment." "Exactly. And what would Autumn tell him? Probably something less clinical. Autumn would tell him to stop acting brand new before she starts dating his syllabus instead." The pregnancy test showed 2 pink lines before Autumn had finished bargaining with God, science, and the bathroom tile. She told Lamar in his kitchen where he was attempting to make salmon and had somehow set off the smoke detector with broccoli. He stared at the test, then at her, then at the ceiling as if a manual might descend. "I'm scared," Autumn said. "Me too," Lamar admitted. "But I'm here." "I don't want you to think this traps you," Autumn said, staring at the test like it might change its mind. "I know we haven't done this in the order people expect." Lamar took a slow breath. "Autumn, I'm 50. People expected me to have a grill, a bad back, and a subscription to a documentary channel. Expectations are not exactly my supervisor." She blinked through sudden tears. "That was almost romantic." "Give me a second," he said, stepping closer. "I love you. I love this baby already. I am terrified, but I would rather be terrified with you than comfortable without you." Those 3 words steadied her until she remembered the next 3. "Tell my parents." Autumn had avoided introducing Lamar to Cecil and Vivian for months. Cecil's illness made new people unpredictable, and Vivian, her mother, had spent years smoothing over the chaos by stepping into Cecil's version of reality instead of helping him step out of it. If Cecil said the mailman was a spy, Vivian whispered, "Don't worry, baby, I watched him." If Cecil said the neighbor's cat was delivering messages, Vivian put tuna on the porch to keep the peace. "Maybe we should meet them somewhere public," Lamar suggested. "My mother said Sunday dinner," Autumn said. "That sounds nice." She also asked if you eat pork, if you own a home, and if your knees work. Lamar considered this. "My knees negotiate." Vivian opened the door wearing pearls, slippers, and the expression of a woman who had already decided the evening would require prayer. "You must be Lamar," she said, giving him a hug that lasted exactly long enough to inventory his character. "Yes, ma'am. Good manners," she called into the house. "That's one point." Cecil sat in the living room in a cardigan, watching a muted western and tapping his fingers on the armrest. He looked at Lamar once, then twice. His face changed. "You," Cecil whispered. Autumn felt her stomach drop. "Daddy, this is Lamar, my boyfriend." Cecil stood slowly. "That's not Lamar. That's the man who killed my brother." There was no brother. There had been an uncle who died of a heart attack in 1989, but Cecil's illness often stitched grief into new costumes. Autumn opened her mouth to explain, but Marlene put a hand on her arm. "Cecil," Vivian said gently, "maybe he's sorry." "Mama!" Autumn snapped. Lamar lifted both hands. "Mr. Cecil, I promise I have never killed anybody's brother. I'm just here for dinner, and possibly macaroni and cheese." For one fragile second, the room seemed to breathe. Then Cecil reached into the side table drawer. Autumn screamed. Vivian yelled, "Cecil, not before Grace!" Lamar ducked, slipped on a decorative rug, and knocked over a lamp shaped like a pineapple. The gunshot cracked through the house, loud enough to silence the western, the room, and possibly everyone's ancestors. Lamar looked down at his arm. Blood bloomed through his sleeve, but not much. A superficial wound, the emergency room doctor would later say, with the bored tone of a man who had seen stranger things on holiday weekends. "Well," Lamar said from the floor, pale but conscious, "I believe I made an impression." In the hospital waiting area, Autumn cried so hard she hiccuped. Lamar sat with his arm bandaged, wearing a paper-thin patient gown over his pants because a nurse had insisted on checking everything, which made him look like a man who had lost an argument with a tablecloth. "You should leave me," Autumn said. "I considered it when your mother asked whether my knees worked," Lamar said. "The gunshot made me revisit the agenda." She laughed despite herself, then covered her face. "This isn't funny." "No," he said softly. "But if we don't laugh, we might drown." Before Autumn could answer, Vivian appeared at the entrance to the waiting area, clutching her purse to her chest like it contained the last working piece of common sense in the family. Cecil was not with her. A security guard had escorted him to a separate room until the police and doctors could sort through what had happened. "Baby," Vivian said, rushing toward Autumn, "your father didn't mean it. You know how he gets when his mind starts playing tricks." Autumn stood so quickly her chair scraped the floor. "Mama, Lamar got shot." Vivian lowered her voice. "Not badly." The words landed so wrong that even Lamar, still pale from adrenaline, sat straighter. "Mrs. Vivian," he said carefully, "I appreciate optimism, but I would prefer we not rank gunshot wounds like restaurant reviews." Autumn pointed toward the hallway. "This is what I mean. You keep trying to make Daddy's illness smaller by making everybody else's fear smaller too. You played along when he said Lamar killed someone. You made it sound like an apology would fix a delusion." Vivian's eyes filled, but her chin hardened. "I have been keeping this family together longer than you've been alive." "No," Autumn said, her voice shaking. "You've been keeping it quiet. That's not the same thing." A nurse at the desk glanced up. Lamar lifted his good hand. "We're emotionally expressive, not dangerous," he said. "Current evidence supports that distinction." Despite herself, Autumn almost laughed. Vivian did not. "You think I don't know he needs help?" Vivian whispered. "You think I don't wake up every morning wondering which Cecil I'm going to get? The sweet one who sings while he fries eggs, or the one who checks the closet for men who aren't there?" Autumn's anger cracked, but it did not disappear. "I know you're tired. I know you're scared. But I'm pregnant, Mama. I cannot bring a baby into a family where everybody pretends loaded drawers are just family quirks. Vivian looked at Lamar's bandage, then at Autumn's stomach. For the first time that night, her face did not arrange itself around an excuse. It simply fell. I didn't know how to stop it, Vivian said. Lamar's voice softened, slipping into the calm cadence of a professor who had spent years helping students name hard truths without running from them. Sometimes keeping peace becomes a habit, and habits can start looking like love. But love without boundaries turns everybody into collateral damage. Vivian gave a wet, humorless laugh. You got shot and you're still teaching? I'm tenured, Lamar said. It's a condition. The laugh that broke out of Autumn was small and messy, but it loosened the room. Vivian sank into the chair across from Lamar and covered her mouth with both hands. What happens now? Vivian asked. Autumn took Lamar's uninjured hand. Now Daddy gets real help. No more pretending. No more guns in the house. No more asking me to smile through danger because it makes dinner easier. Vivian nodded once, then again as if each nod cost her something. I can try. Trying has to look different this time, Autumn said. Lamar lifted a finger. And if possible, I would like future family disputes to involve fewer firearms and more pie. Vivian wiped her eyes. Sweet potato? That would help the healing process, Lamar said solemnly. Autumn told him the truth then, that she was afraid people would always see him as a wallet, a replacement father, or a mistake. Lamar told her he was afraid she would wake up one day and realize he was closer to retirement than TikTok relevance. He admitted that Damon's youth made him feel like a fading photograph beside a fresh print. Autumn admitted that Lamar's certainty sometimes made her feel like she had to grow faster than she wanted. They talked until the vending machine coffee went cold. They talked about money, independence, parenting, boundaries with her family, and what it would mean to raise a child without letting fear write the rules. The age gap did not vanish. It sat beside them like another visitor, real but no longer in charge. I don't need you to be 25. Autumn said. Good, Lamar said. My left knee filed a formal objection. And I don't need your money to love you. Good, he said again. Because after tonight, I may need to invest in therapy, security doors, and a new shirt. Autumn wiped her cheeks. Promise me something. Don't turn into one of those men who uses age like a remote control. Only if you promise not to turn youth into a weapon every time I don't understand a phrase, Lamar said. Deal, Autumn said. But if you say the Facebook, I reserve the right to take a lap. Lamar reached for her hand. And if you call my music old people jams, I reserve the right to make our child listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire before preschool. Months later, Autumn's friends still had questions, but they had fewer jokes. Nia apologized for turning concern into diagnosis. Patrice admitted she had underestimated Autumn's ability to know her own heart. Damon continued to avoid Lamar in the elevator, which Lamar considered one of the pregnancy's unexpected blessings. Cecil received more consistent care, and Vivian began learning that love did not mean agreeing with every fear. Their family did not become perfect, but it became more honest. Lamar visited again only after Autumn made 3 rules: no weapons, no side table drawers, and no confusing emotional support with conspiracy support. At the baby shower, Lamar stood beside Autumn with one hand on the small of her back and one eye on Cecil, who was peacefully eating cake and telling anyone who listened that Lamar looked familiar but had improved. Autumn laughed until she cried. People still stared sometimes. Strangers still did math out loud with their eyes. There were still differences between them: music, slang, stamina, and the alarming number of vitamins Lamar kept in alphabetical order. But Autumn and Lamar learned that love was not proven by pretending differences did not exist. Love was proven by facing them without letting the world decide what they meant. They had met on 2 bad nights in a hotel lounge, both carrying disappointment like luggage. They had survived assumptions, insecurity, brunch interrogations, a pregnancy announcement, and one deeply unfortunate Sunday dinner. Somewhere in the middle of all that craziness, they realized the thing everyone else kept trying to define for them was the only thing they understood clearly. Autumn loved Lamar not because he was older, richer, or safer, but because he showed up. Lamar loved Autumn not because she made him feel young, but because she made him feel honest. Their love did not erase the age difference. It gave them a reason to grow across it. And when their daughter was born, Lamar held her like a miracle and whispered, "Your mama changed my life." Autumn, exhausted and glowing, looked over at him. "And your knees?" Lamar smiled, still negotiating. I hope you enjoyed listening to this story as much as I enjoyed creating it. Don't forget to check out the video clips associated with this story that are published on this channel. Thank you for your support. God bless. Don't know what it is, but it's such a peaceful place. As I go my way, I don't care what people say. I'm in love with a man, you twice my age.